What's up, guys? So Konami released, of course, a new Bullet Header Koller, and I actually used all three of these new cards on stream earlier. So today I'm gonna give you a review of the cards, my thoughts on if you should go for them, and also the training guide afterwards, like what are the best builds to put on them and what are the best skills. So focus of this review, I'm not gonna really hone in on is Koller good for cross spamming. I want to look at everything else in this game, and this was something that was really good in this game. He was very good at bringing other people into play with his aerial ability, but even when the ball was on his feet, you'll see it throughout the clips because he's a target man. Whenever the midfielders have the ball, pretty much, he's always there looking for the ball into his feet. Here's a great little heel trick he does. It's kind of like a scorpion kick. Like you can see here, this definitely was very acrobatic, and Beto, wherever you say his name, was trying to be acrobatic himself. Unfortunately, he couldn't get the shot off. But even like instances like this, like that's a really bad pass to make, but because it's colored, you can kind of lift it up and get it over. But here's what I'm talking about there. You can see when the midfielder had the ball, Collar was kind of signaling towards his feet, being with his back into the defender, and then my opponent got a bit upset. Sneijder scored a free kick. That's about it. Honestly, I didn't think Sneijder was anything special. He was pretty unremarkable, and I would say that if you have any other version of Sneijder, stick with him. Here's again, Collar with the acrobatics. Look at that, almost went in. That was honestly almost one of the best goals I've ever scored in eFootball. Even my opponent wanted to watch the miss. Like, your opponents rarely even want to watch the goals you score, let alone the misses. So I was definitely a bit annoyed about that not going in. But Collar also was very good at intercepting the ball. Those long legs. I'm gonna be showing you a build later that might be a bit controversial. But before even using this Collar, I knew he would be really good at intercepting the ball. That's another instance there of the target man working well. You know, he wants the ball into his feet, and it kind of lets the skulls that was on the wing overlap. Bebeto, again, Bebeto wasn't that amazing. I did feel like he actually underperformed, but I thought he would because his stats are actually quite amazing. If we take a look here, you can see like 95 finishing, amazing, amazing dribbling stats, good balance, great kicking power, great acceleration, very good curl for a striker specifically. Like you're looking at this, and you're obviously going to be comparing him to Romario, and this Bebeto also has very high weak foot, which Romario doesn't have. Obviously, there's more recent versions of Romario, like the goal poacher one mainly. So the goal poacher Romario is definitely better than Bebeto. But stats wise, I would have thought that Bebeto would have impressed me at least as much as Romario does. But I think it's just a player ID thing because Bebeto didn't wow me. Didn't do bad, but didn't wow me. I did say in stream, if you want to watch the full stream, I'll leave a link at the end of the video. But I don't think any player would have impressed me because I was using color and I was building my whole tactic around color. So I don't think it's really fair on Bebeto and Sneijder, just because I was definitely trying to suit Color's strengths. So for the skills of Bebeto, if you have a look there, he starts off with pretty much every skill you would need on a centre forward. The only two that I think really needs to be complete are true passing and fighting spirit. And you can make a build with more passing on him to kind of get him more close to how he was in real life. So like if you want to do that, you'd probably have to take off maybe the aerial strength and get the passing up like that, and then again maybe a little bit of dribbling. You want all 90s though, get the passing up to 80 ideally, but then once you go past this point, you're losing too much stats elsewhere. And I actually did try both builds, the one I like and then one that with more passing, and I didn't think it was a major improvement. Yeah, if we go back to the skills for a sec, true pass and fighting spirit, I usually don't recommend one touch pass because on strikers, because of how overpowered and magnetic 1-2 passes are. I have a video on that, but because this guy has so many skills, it's covering all his bases. You can probably just put one touch pass on him. And also, he is a fox in the box. I think he used to be a dummy runner. I did for sure. But I do think he's a better kind of playmaker because he's just very well rounded. Like we said earlier, that very high weak foot as well. Like, I think if you make him a second striker to get him to drop a little bit deeper and more involved in the game, it would be better. And in that case, you might want one touch pass. You can also go for scissors feint and then Marseille turn, but honestly at that point I think you're not really improving the card majorly. I think he's kind of got all his bases covered from the start. Okay, we'll cover Sneijder quickly so then we can move on to Collar. Ultimately, this Sneijder isn't worth it to me. If we just look at an old Sneijder, like this one's arguably better. I've still got 2 points left over. I wanted to get that shooting up. You'd have to take something else off, maybe a dribbling, then to get the 88 finishing. But anyway, doesn't matter. This Sneijder is arguably better because stats wise, you can probably say this one might be a little bit better, but it is a whole player, and whole player doesn't suit Sneijder. You definitely should be a creative playmaker. Like I was watching Indominator's stream earlier while I was on my break from work, and someone in the chat asked, Is Sneijder not too slow? Like, is not going to be a problem for him? And the Dominator said, like, you shouldn't worry about his speed. It's not important on Sneijder, and I kind of agree. Like, I actually said it again myself on stream, but when you remember he's a whole player, like, whole players probably do need a bit of speed just because they're trying to make Darren runs in behind. So ultimately, creative playmaker Sneijder definitely suits him a lot better. For the skills in Sneijder, you can see this is what he starts off with. He does have the very high weak foot, so I definitely want to give him soul control and flip flap. I'd probably give him acrobatic finish too, because his balance isn't extremely high. It's 91. You'd want to be like 95 or above if you want to go without acrobatic finishing, to be honest. And he's a whole player, so he should be getting in those areas to shoot. I definitely would recommend weighted pass, because I've used phenomenal pass players quite a bit, and I think weighted pass is a good combo with it. And then for the last skill, it's either fighting spirit or cut behind and turn. I think a player like him really should have cut behind and turn. Again, I recommend that on pretty much every player. The only two players I don't really recommend cut behind and turn on are Messi and Maradona, because they're able to turn so quickly just with dribbling that you don't need the cut behind. But I feel like nearly every other player in the game needs it to be able to change direction that quick. But yeah, ultimately, I wouldn't be going for this Sneijder. Okay, so this is the build that I used on Koller. I did try a couple more with less jumping, and I thought it really wasn't worth it, because the points you would get, let's say if you took off jumping, redistribute elsewhere, it's not going to make him a better player elsewhere. That dribbling is not going to really change. But I don't know if I actually captured it in the clips that I chose in the video, but his dribbling was actually very good. Like, if you don't believe me, you can watch the stream. He was dribbling quite nice, to be fair. Now, for the skills, now don't call me crazy with this, okay? But for the skills, I kind of have a little bit of a strange idea. First off, I do think he should get through passing. But that heel trick did actually work wonders. You've seen it in the clips. Like, it actually did help a lot, because a lot of times when you hit the ball up the collar, probably a lot to pass. That heel trick came in very handy. I'd probably give him one touch pass. I know I just said a minute ago, Bebeto don't need one touch pass on strikers, or maybe it was Sneijder. But it's just because the type of skills you're going to put on him, on Koller, you're not going to get him to us. How do I say this? There's no point putting Marseille turn on him. He's going to be too clunky. But next, probably go for double touch and flip flap just to get that ball roll, because that ball roll shot is so broken. I think it'd be very helpful. And then this is where you're probably thinking I'm crazy. I'm thinking interception. Like, you've seen it in the clips how much he was kind of intercepting the ball, and that was without interception. And while playing, there was a few instances where I thought he just stuck his foot out there, he might have got the ball. And if you look at his player ID, so Pez Pepe obviously have done a video on why certain players are very good at intercepting and some players aren't. Look at Koller, his player ID on every metric is like near the top. I think interception could really work on him. Before he came out on stream last week, we were looking at builds with like high defensive stats, so I think it would be something like this. We wanted 70 and all. Anyway, I don't think you should do the high 70 one, because or the 70 defensive stats, because I did feel like this attacking awareness was very important. I thought his runs were very good, particularly when he had stamina. So I wouldn't actually recommend going for that 70 defending build. It was something that I wanted to try out. Maybe I will try it out over the coming days, because this wasn't on my account. This was on Aslan's account. I'd have to get back onto it. Yeah, realistically, like, this last skill, what are you gonna put on him other than, like, I don't know, you could put like outside curler or cut behind and turn. It could work, but I really think you could find something very valuable here and put an interception on him. So if anyone wants to be the first to try put an interception on Koller and let us know in the comments how it works, I think we'd all be very interested in knowing. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Actually, before it's the end of the video, I do think this Koller is very good. I don't know if it's worth it, because I'm worried Konami might nerf headers in the future. If it's like, situation where the game continues the way it is with the gameplay and headers are effective and you can play crosses, this Koller is definitely worth it. But if you are worried about that not being the case, probably due a gameplay update, you might want to skip it. But I can confirm, as someone who never really crosses, even crossing with Koller, it was quite easy, but it was quite fun too. Yeah, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.